Alright, we're going to call this part 4 of the Admiral record changer video. And if you've watched the other videos on this channel in the order in which they're posted, you'll see that I've made a few videos of this machine playing some records. And you've seen it playing 70 RPM only records. That's because at the moment that's the only speed that works. There is a pair of drive belts. This is one of them right here that's required for the 45 and 33 RPM speeds. So I need to get those so that the other speeds will work. The other thing I need to get is a new feeler. Got me a temporary feeler made that goes on the end of this that detects what size record is on the turntable. It works in the 10-inch only position at the moment. And it works pretty decently. I've played a stack of records on this thing, and it's changed and indexed them all correctly. The only real trouble I seem to be having is the overarm hangs up slightly at the bottom of its travel, and I think that's because this post isn't mounted quite concentric with the hole in the changer pan. And I'll set the machine over on its side here so you can see what I'm talking about. And the description for part 3 of the video here, I mentioned that when putting the changer back together, I broke a spring and had to make a temporary repair on that, and I'll show you what I did there. It looks really crude, but it's only temporary. I have a piece of the spring right there, and I have another piece too, but a longer piece, but I don't know where that's at. This is long enough to get an idea of what gauge wire it is, and I can use that to make a new one. So let me tip the machine up on its side here. And spin it around so you can see the underside. And the nice pretty new wiring that I made for the turntable. See, there's the tubes and the bottom cover of the chassis with the model number and tube layout. There's the phono pickup lead. There's the phono power plug. And this is original wiring going into the chassis. This was in good shape. And then on the plug, I've soldered in these new wires here. Run them up. There's a leg that goes down to the switch here. And then this goes on to the motor leads. The motor leads were nice and flexible. I reused this rubber sleeving here where the original leads were soldered onto the motor leads. There's the tag for the record changer itself. And it's really a fairly simple changer. The way it's made isn't really complicated. The spring that I had to repair is this one right here, and I just used for now a piece of paper clip wire. It has just the right amount of springiness for what this does. And I'll explain that briefly. I had all this apart and cleaned it up. And I've run the changer a little bit. Eventually I'll grease it a little bit. I've got the instructions here from the 1953 edition of the Most Often Needed Radio Diagrams. It has a really nice copy of the operating instructions for this changer, as well as how to make all the adjustments and what and where to lube. But this spring broke. I noticed that the this piece here during the change cycle was not getting pushed back into place where it's supposed to go. This is the trip slide, and attached to the tone arm is a finger here that pushes up on this as the slide moves in, as the tone arm moves in towards the middle of the record. And as it moves in, it operates the velocity trip mounted on the top side of this pan here on the gear wheel that runs the change cycle. And when the tone arm moves in at a faster rate of speed than normal travel, it causes a pawl to kick over and engage the cycling gear so that it cycles. And then as it cycles, this wrist plate here turns back this way, and this spring pushes the trip slide back and resets it. And I noticed it wasn't resetting. So adjusting the spring, trying to get a little bit more action, and it broke right off. So for temporary purposes, so that I can run the changer, I've taken a piece of paperclip wire and run it through, and then looped it around this rivet head that the original trip spring attaches to. And what I'll do is I'll get a piece of wire and make a new spring and drill this rivet out and put a small screw. I'll find a small screw not much different than these other screws used on the changer, so that it looks about right. Other than that, the only other problem I've had is an annoying ticking sound as the turntable revolves, and that is because of the rubber idler that drives the turntable where it contacts the motor shaft. And no, it's not the idler itself. It's actually in pretty nice shape. It's the motor shaft itself. The motor shaft has a small spiral spring wound around on it, and the way everything is laid out is that spring does not ride on the center of the idler. You can just see the idler back there. And so as that motor shaft rotates, the end of that spring on the motor shaft runs around and makes contact with the idler and goes tick, 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 tick. And I kind of question whether it's what it's supposed to be there for, because with a strobe on the turntable, it's running faster than 78.26 RPM, which was the strobe speed with a gear reduction. So I might try taking that spring off. It'll make the motor shaft where the idler contacts it a little bit smaller in diameter, but it will get rid of that tick, and we might get closer to the actual speed that it's supposed to run. Now on a record changer, it's kind of nice to have it run a little fast, because the extra drag from the changer mechanism will cause it to slow down. That's the common thought on this. In actuality, I don't think it makes any difference, because honestly the changer mechanism isn't in operation during playback. It's just at the end, so I don't think it really matters. The turntable is pretty well balanced and rides on ball bearings, so there really shouldn't be a need for that slight extra speed. You're not going to notice it if the change cycle's a slight fraction of an RPM fast or slow anyway. So, at any rate. So this is the underside of the radio phonograph combination. So you can see how I rewired it. It looks really nice. I even used some cloth electrical tape, just like they had done on the original harness, to make it look nice. Original wires were black and black. I had this blue and white wire lying around, so I used it. I think it came out real well. So, anyway, yeah, and also I got it black and blue and white, so not that it really probably makes a difference, but there we go. So anyway, alright, rambled on long enough. Look forward to other videos in the future as I continue to make improvements on this thing, finish it up. But for now it plays. That's good enough for me. It can be demonstrated. It's not just a paperweight, so I'm happy about that. So this is Oklahoma Bridges. See you next time.